Shit We've Read is a proud member of Bilo Network, a network of geeky podcasts.
Please visit shitwe'veread.com to support the show.
Now let's talk about some books.
Hello, welcome back to another episode of Shit We've Read, a sci-fi fantasy book podcast hosted by some geeky friends. I am your host, Laura Benson, and I am here with my co-host, Jason Rico, who is being a perfectionist.
Yeah, you can't see, but my book fell over. I needed to put it up. Hey, Laura, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's Friday when we're recording. It's not nearly as hot as it has been the last couple days here in Sacramento.
It's been bad, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, it's a good day.
Good. Well, we are here with a returning guest host. He's a host of Sister Podcast Before You Log Off and founder of our podcast family, the Bilo Network. Welcome back to the show, Sir Aaron Carter. Woo.
Hello, everybody. Glad to be back. Thank you for having me on again.
Of course.
Yeah.
Didn't know how I did the last time, so you know.
You did great.
It was terrible.
Oh, sorry.
So something that's I don't know if it's new or maybe you guys always did it, but did you always intro yourself saying you're a sci-fi fantasy book podcast?
Yeah, usually.
Okay, all right. I just thought you guys covered the whole range of, I know you guys have your other one, the After Dark series type of thing, but like, but I thought, in the daytime, everything was on limits,
Yeah.
Maybe one day we'll ditch the sci-fi fantasy. I think that's our comfort thing right now. I'm not
That's
looking
cool.
forward to covering Wuthering Heights anytime soon.
I mean, whatever you're into, that's cool, whatever you're into.
Yeah. We definitely try to stick with sci-fi fantasy. There have been a few times that we accidentally chose a book that wasn't.
Yeah.
Like the feel we got from the synopsis felt like it was one of those, but then it wasn't.
Okay.
That does happen. But
I've done that once, not with the sci-fi genre, but I have done that once with a book. I read a book called The Hating Game. I think I've told you guys about this. Maybe
I think
not.
so.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was going to be like a rom-com. I'm a big rom-com movie guy, at least. And so I was like, let me read the book version of a rom-com. It was not as rom-com-y as I thought it would be, but it is whatever. They made a movie about it, and I refuse to see it. So that's
was the cover. Did the cover give off rom-com vibes?
Yeah, it did. It was one of those cartoony covers, like you see on a sitcom where the guy's like facing the other way and the girl's facing the other way, and they're looking at each other like, oh Karen or oh Greg, and it's like, all right, cool. Let's see what this is about. It wasn't. It was very. It crept into my bully genre. Bully romance.
I was about to
genre.
ask.
Yes.
I was about to ask that.
So I was like, all right, okay. Thanks.
I wonder if it's one of those discrete covers that those type of books are doing these days.
It might have been.
So I found out about that a month or so after that's a thing. Discrete covers to trick people. So I'm like, so I got swindled? Is that what happened? Got it. Okay.
Well, some of those books I get, like, people don't necessarily want to go out in public and read a book where it's obvious that it's a dirty book.
Why?
So, like, you can't, like, take that, like, I don't know. I feel like it would start some really weird conversations.
It's not like you're walking around naked in the streets. You're reading literature that's, it's a story. I'm not one to read a ton of smut, but I would have no problem in public reading it. And if somebody were to look at me, sideways or second glance, I would be like, yeah, it's hot Allosaurus summer. Go check it out. Go check it out. Like I have no shame in that area. Yeah, I have no shame in that area.
Well, yes, I am reading Morning Glory Milk Farm.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
exactly.
Oh, God.
Great book, by the way. Great book. I did read that. Great book,
Oh,
by
my
the way.
Lord.
I have not
Okay.
read that book myself, but
It
it's
is-
probably one of my
it's-
favorite titles.
It is actually a pretty good one. It is on Aaron's recommend list. I
Wow.
definitely recommend it.
There you go.
Okay.
Yes.
This has apparently turned into an After Dark episode. All right.
I mean, saying my talents are available for those episodes if you guys need, an extra one day or something. I don't,
All right. Keep that in mind. For sure.
Good to know. We'll keep that in mind when we do more planning.
All right.
Well, on this episode, our featured book is going to be The Kaiju Preservation Society by John Scalzi. But before we jump into that, I want to ask, what is some of the shit you've been reading?
Yeah, I can go first. So I mentioned this at the end of last episode, but we had an author reach out to us, Jules McCallis, and to tell us about her debut novel, The Wizard's Ward, which I finally finished, and it was really good. I really enjoyed it. It's a young adult, like, epic fantasy. It's got dragons and elves, centaurs, pirates, some romance, some adventure, some danger. It's about a badass female protagonist who has, like, all these untapped powers. Like, there's a lot in the book that's a lot of fun to read. It's a really easy read. I got through it pretty quickly. It's just like a fun read. Yeah, so if anybody is into that kind of book, I definitely recommend checking it out.
Cool. Aaron?
I finished To Sleep in a Sea of Stars. And
I love that
so I purchased that book a while ago, and it's a very long book.
Yes.
And but I really, so it's one of these books, because I've read long books before, and I don't know if you guys ever get into this, where you've put a book down and then, like, for a little while, and then come back to it later and realize you don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like this book so much that when I picked it up after a month, or a few months actually, of not reading it, I was able to jump back in that world again.
Oh,
And
nice.
I
Wow.
really enjoyed this book. It was narrated by Commander Shepard, the voice actress that did Mass Effect, which I really enjoyed.
Nice.
And it was just really deep sci-fi. Like, so Emma recommended it to me. Emma Skies recommended it to me, and she said, you're gonna like how detailed they are with some of the mechanics of the universe with this sci-fi, because that's what I kind of really, I kind of dig on that. And I love the way they kind of explained all these things, how things work and stuff like that. So yeah, I finished that one. That was probably the biggest read in a few months, besides little tiny comic books that I've been trying to pick up and then put down. Oh, the other thing, can I say comic books, or we stay away
Go
from
for
that?
it.
Yeah.
It was, what is it? I just put it down, but it was one, Laura, I think you know this one. It's called something. Oh, something's killing the kids, or something like that. What's killing the kids in the woods?
Something is killing the
or-
children.
Yes, something is killing the children.
That's good.
Yes. I started it, and I got to get back to it because I really like it. Like,
Yeah.
yes, I got to get back to that one.
That's
For
definitely
sure.
a good one to read for spooky season too.
Coming up.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm doing.
Yeah.
It's on my list for next month.
Yeah, definitely a good comic book. I'm behind on all of my comics right now, but that's still on my list to, like, it's a higher priority for me to get through.
Gotcha. Yeah,
So,
I think you first mentioned it to me, Laura, and so I put it on my list, but I put it in my list for October. So I've been waiting this entire time to get to it,
Yeah.
and finally almost there. So
I would love to cosplay the main character someday. I mean, there's
Ooh.
not, like, nothing hugely special about her other than she's got her specific hairstyle, like gigantic eyes.
well, spoilers. What the hell?
She's on the covers. Anyways, yeah, that's a good comic book and a good book. Sounds like you had some good reading.
Yeah. I thoroughly enjoyed my reading.
Nice.
What about you, Laura? What have you been reading?
I am actually in the middle of reading Prison of Sleep by Tim Pratt. It's the second book in the Zaxony Delatree series. Doors of Sleep is the first one. It's been on my list for forever. And so I just decided to listen to the audiobook one day because I have a lot of credits on Audible that I need to use. And
Oh,
I
me
really
too.
enjoyed it. And then I saw there was a second book, and I'm really bummed that there's no audiobook for it. Because I really liked the audiobook for the first one. So but I still liked the story enough to actually read it. So I'm reading the ebook for it. It's a multiverse story where the main character, every time he falls asleep, he moves to another universe. And so he wakes up in a whole new world, basically. And so it's about him traveling through these different universes and different people he's met, and it's just really interesting because Aaron, in the last episode you were with us on was episode, was it 9? Did I say 9? Yeah, episode 9, The Space Between Worlds. And I think one thing that we talked about was that we didn't get to see enough of the other universes.
Yeah.
This series, we see a lot of these different universes. Sometimes it's like literally like just a couple minutes that he stays. Sometimes he stays several days. So it's been really interesting, kind of like seeing all of these different worlds that the author has created. So I've been really, really enjoying it. I don't know if there's going to be more books or if it's just a duology, but let's see. Book 2, Prison of Sleep, actually just came out this year, so I don't know. We'll see how it ends.
So maybe the audiobook will come out a little later?
Maybe. Yeah, it's possible. But I didn't want to wait to find out. I wanted to see what happened. So the first book, I mean, it could end in the first book. But there's definitely still, you can tell there's still more story after that. So I was excited to see that I didn't have to wait to get the rest of it. So, but I am enjoying the adventure of it.
Nice. I got to read that first book because I want a copy of it from the Sacramento County Library. So I have the book, but I still haven't read it yet. So I really need to get around to that. So anyhow, shout out to the Sacramento County Library. Support your local library.
Yes.
Yes.
Did
you see they have the book train?
I just saw that. Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Get audiobooks on the I think it's a light rail. Is that what it is?
It looked like a light rail, yeah.
Cool. All right, you guys want to jump into the featured book?
Oh, please, let's do
go.
it. Yeah.
All right. We are talking about the Kaiju Preservation Society by John Scalzi. It is a science fiction novel, standalone. Jason, would you like to read the synopsis for us?
Yeah, I would love to. Okay. When COVID-19 sweeps through New York City, Jamie Gray is stuck as a dead-end driver for food delivery apps. That is, until Jamie makes a delivery to an old acquaintance, Tom, who works at what he calls an animal rights organization. Tom's team needs a last-minute grunt to handle things on their next field visit. Jamie, eager to do anything, immediately signs on. What Tom doesn't tell Jamie is that the animals his team cares for are not here on Earth. Not our Earth, at least. In an alternate dimension, massive dinosaur-like creatures named Kaiju roam a warm and human-free world. They're the universe's largest and most dangerous panda, and they're in trouble. It's not just the Kaiju Preservation Society that's found its way to the alternate world. Others have too, and their carelessness could cause millions back on our Earth to die.
Thank you for reading that, Jason.
Yeah, no problem.
I guess before we jump into anything, obviously from the synopsis, content warning is this book does talk about COVID-19. So might be a topic that is sensitive to some people. just to forewarn our listeners. Let's just talk about non-spoiler first impressions. Aaron, what did you think? Did you like it?
I thought honestly it felt like a yeah, no, it felt like either a Netflix or sci-fi channel movie. Um I feel like you can, if you were to throw this on a movie, because I mean, whenever I read anything, I'm kind of really imagining it as a video production, and I feel like this, you get a guy in a suit, in a giant, kaiju suit, old school classic Godzilla, you know, you get big fake plants everywhere for people to kind of walk through, like they're going through a jungle, but you can clearly tell it's not a jungle that they're, you know, and not in a see, I like cheesy movies. I like B movies. That's my, Laura, we used to, do
Mm-hmm.
B movie night type of thing. So that's my jam. So like I dug that vibe that it gave off for me. And some parts, in my opinion, because I wanted to keep that vibe going, were a little too explainy for me. Like, I understand they were trying to flesh out the world and everything like that, and how kaiju's in this world work, and but I was just like, can we get to the like the campy action parts? Like let's really turn into Sharknado 3 for here. Let's go for that. So it kind of lost me a little on that part. And then I also think, coming off of a really detailed book like To Sleep in the Sea of Stars, and then to go to this one and have the mentality that I was thinking that, that it's kind of a campy book, which my opinion, I think the characters that were written, Jamie especially, that's how they came off with the jokes that they were telling, the way that they named the kaijus, all the pop culture references. I was like, yeah, this is straight a sci-fi channel movie for sure. But it was a quick enjoyment book, I'll say, like something that you can kind of uh
Mm-hmm.
jump into, not really think too much, and then just go for the ride, I think. So like there were a couple of things that like kept me from liking it a lot more. Like I said, with the explanations of certain things that I kind of felt like I didn't need, but I can't get straight A's off of everything. So
Okay. Jason?
Well, I kind of agree with what some of Aaron said. I will say I actually really love this book, and reading this book and realizing how much I was enjoying it made me realize that this is a very specific type of book that I really enjoy. That reminds me a lot of The Martian, Project Hail Mary, maybe even a little bit of Ready Player One, um, even a little bit of Jurassic Park, where it's a sci-fi book, especially with The Martian and Project Hail Mary. You take kind of an everyman character who happens to be really smart,
Mm-hmm.
but is also kind of geeky, makes all these references, and puts him in this sci-fi situation. And it's just a really enjoyable time. Like, it doesn't really take itself too seriously at any point. It's super easy to get through. The science that you need to know for the science fiction is not very labor intensive. They'll throw out terms, but really you don't need to care about them. Any explanation that they do is very surface level. I don't know. It was just a lot of fun for me. Yeah. I don't know what to say. I just really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. I got through it really quickly, and I just had a
Yeah.
fun. I got a last the entire time. Probably exactly for the reason that Aaron was saying, that it feels kind of like a campy sci-fi movie. Is like, you don't watch those thinking they're going to be these really in-depth, critically acclaimed movies. No, I'm going to watch it because I want to watch a three-headed shark, fighting a giant octobat or whatever.
yeah,
Like, that's the fun. That's the fun of it. And
Mm-hmm.
and this is what that book was for me.
I also really loved it. I think it's kind of what I needed. If anybody listened to the last episode, I kind of had mentioned that I've not been having the greatest couple of months, and so the last book was a little heavy for me. this was like the perfect read at the right time, because it was just so much fun overall. And like you just said, it's the science wasn't too deep. I could still understand it and still geek out over a little bit. It had a lot of pop culture references Aaron had mentioned. It just had a lot of things in it that yeah, I could relate to, even though it wasn't a very deep book. It was just a lot of fun. It was a new place and lots of different characters, and I think it was a really fun book that passed some time. The audiobook was a lot of fun too. It was narrated by Will Wheaton, and he already has a lot of energy when he does his narrations, and so that made it fun, gave it a little bit more attitude that I might not have necessarily put in it. But then I started so I would switch between reading and then listening to the audiobook depending on what I was doing. So then I started hearing Jamie's voice as Will Wheaton when I read. And so that was kind of weird, but I thought it was a good book. It's definitely felt different from what we've been reading for the show.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, and that might be a big reason why I also enjoyed it. Like you said, like this was a nice kind of palate cleanser. A lot of the books
Yeah.
that we've read, deal with deeper themes, which are great. But sometimes you just want to have fun with the book.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a very fun book, even though it kind of stems out of the COVID-19 as a backdrop, which I will say, like, for anybody, COVID-19 has obviously been very challenging for a lot of people in a lot of different ways. And if you're listening to this, hopefully you weren't too personally impacted by it. But that is really just kind of the setup for the book. It's not, I wouldn't say it's a really big part of the book.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was nice to kind of use that as a more serious setup and then an escape from it. Like there's something kind of
Good point.
therapeutic about it, of like, all right, you're putting me back into that beginning part of COVID-19. And then now we're going to go to this world where there's kaiju. And it's kind of ridiculous, really, as a juxtaposition to the way the world was and it still is now. So I think that was kind of fun.
Yeah. Anything else before we jump into spoilers?
No, I say we jump into spoilers.
Okay, spoiler warning. Turn back now if you haven't read it or don't want spoilers.
Now
Okay.
keep listening. Let them listen along while they read.
Before we get into some of the deeper questions that we have, I wanted to ask you guys, would you try the poop fruit?
No. That's an instantaneous no.
So it remind me again. I know it looks like poop, but it's edible. Did it taste like poop? Did they say?
They didn't say.
No.
Did it?
No, I don't think. Yeah, I don't
I think
think
it
there
just
was any
looks
indication
like
that
poop.
I think it just in.
Yeah.
Looks enough though are good enough for me to be like, no way. Like there's a lot of issues I had with the world that I overlooked because I had the mindset of like Sharknado, right? I'm not gonna question why there's sharks in the tornado, right? So in this world, there's a lot of things that I feel like those initial shots that they received to go there, I don't think they would cover everything. I feel like there was a lot of pathogens that probably would have been passed, real fast. So when they explained this poop fruit, I was like, I'll bring a sandwich from the other world. How about that? How about I'll bring a sandwich from the other world, or how about we get some trucks in here to bring some McDonald's for everybody or something? Like, where's the sponsors at? So we can, the billionaires are fine, but can we get some, hey, brought to you by Taco Bell for a hot, meal or something like that? Something that looks better than what you're giving us here. Like that's yes, yeah. Because I'm too iffy about new things that I will have to ingest. How about that? that's what
Okay.
that would have been a kind of a hard line for me.
Laura, to
Okay.
answer your question, I would try the poop fruit because I feel like I've already tried poop fruit and it's called durian.
Wow.
What?
Durian. Have you guys never had durian?
I
No.
don't think I have.
Okay, you guys need to look it up. Anybody else who's listening who's never heard of durian, look it up. It's a fruit.
How do you spell it?
Durian. It smells very bad, and it's not an appealing. It's an acquired taste, I guess, is
I
the
thought that was
proper term.
jackfruit.
No,
Yeah, I thought
not
it was jackfruit too. It looks exactly like it too.
No,
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
Durian's different.
What?
You know what? The picture. I don't know if you can see that, but the picture that I saw on my screen is that. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and guess that it does smell very.
It smells
Oh,
very
here you
bad.
go. Durian versus jackfruit. Oh, nope. Says they're a whole different fruit.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty high in carbs. I tell you that.
And yeah, it is.
Interesting.
It is not pleasant.
Smells terrible.
So, like in the book, they talk about eating that. I can't remember if they say were there alternatives.
No, I think the poop fruit is just one of the like adventurous foods to try.
Yeah.
Like in the cafeteria, they said that if you want to be adventurous, there's this section over here. You should try the poop fruit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can
And then
always
that
close
was
my
a
eyes when I'm
gift.
eating it.
That was a gift for one of the new guys or new people. It was a stack of poop fruit on their desk.
Yeah, I'll just close my eyes and it'll be fine. I mean, as long as it doesn't have the consistency or the heat of poop,
I mean,
then I'm okay. I'm just saying, like, if I close my eyes and
Ew.
I don't know what it is I'm eating, it's fine.
Gross.
yeah. No,
I don't
I'm
think
all right.
I would try it.
Oh, okay, more
I
poop
don't
fruit
think
for me.
so.
Yeah, you can have my
Yeah, you
share
can
of
have
poop.
it.
Poop fruit ice cream, poop fruit empanadas.
You have fun with that.
Oh, I will. Yeah, I think poop fruit needs to be the official fruit of the podcast since we have shit in our name.
Hey, I mean, if that's what you guys want to do. I mean, hey, it fits the title.
And anyone listening, just let us know.
Bella's
Would
gonna
you
be
try the
so
poop fruit?
confused when they come back.
Yeah, like why is there a poop emoji attached to her name? Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Just go with it.
Just to I guess get it out of the way early, we already brought up how COVID-19 was part of the story. It was, but it also kind of wasn't.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Do you guys think the way that Scalzi handled it was done well? Like acknowledging it, but not
Yeah, but
getting,
not
like,
dwelling
in-depth.
on it, I guess. I think
'Cause because the book does actually take place in 2020.
yes. What I did like though, like you said before, was how it's an escape though. So it's like we recognize that this is a pandemic that's happening, a lot of tragedies spawned from it. But now we're going into a whole new world, to kind of get your mind off of the madness back in the regular world. I don't think it was done distasteful or anything like that. I think it was fine.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it was handled poorly at all. I was honestly reading as I was reading. I was wondering why. Was the COVID-19 needed for the story at all? I mean, I feel like you could tell the story really without it. And my takeaway is that the author used the COVID-19 as a way to make the main character somewhat desperate for something new, because it
Did
was a
you?
very go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say, did you read the author notes at the end?
Oh
Yes.
yeah, at the end. But like, as I'm reading it, I'm like, why was COVID-19 part of it? And it's like, oh, okay, maybe you need to set up the character to be in a place where he needs to accept this,
Yeah.
because it was a very troubling, difficult time for a lot of people in terms of career and finances, not to mention everything else. So once I kind of wrap my head around that, it made a lot more sense. And I thought the handling of it as a whole was pretty well done. Yeah, you, Laura?
Yeah, I thought it was done well too. Reading this synopsis, I thought it was going to be more part of the story, so that kind of worried me a little bit.
Yeah.
But it was really just the beginning when we're learning about Jamie and their situation, and then there's just, I guess, references to it here and there, and just acknowledging that they don't exactly know how things are going because they're so obviously they're on a whole different universe, so they're just not connected enough to know. And so I thought they did a pretty good job, because and it also does, it's the story, I think it starts like in the beginning of when the pandemic starts. So like it doesn't get into a lot of detail. It doesn't get into the time when things got really bad, so didn't have to address that. But yeah, the author letter, I was going to bring that up, is Scalzi talks about how he was trying to write a different book during the pandemic and he just couldn't do it. And he ended up writing this book instead. So I think this book was his escape.
Mm-hmm.
Was his way of dealing with the effects of COVID-19 and the economy and things like that. And just kind of he just kind of like let his imagination run wild with it. That author letter, I don't generally read a ton of author letters. I'll like kind of skim through, but I ended up listening to the audiobook when I got to the end, and he reads that, and so that kind of drew me into it, just the way that it had started. And so there was a lot of really interesting things that he talks about in that letter. So if anybody has read this book and didn't read that author note, I do recommend going and reading it, because it was interesting to see like his experience with writing, kind of a window into 2020, 2021, and his thoughts behind this book.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting earlier Laura, when you said how this book was the book you needed right now,
Mm-hmm.
and that mirrored so much of the author and him saying like this book is what he needed to write. Right, like he
Yeah.
mentioned, he wanted to write another book, but he just couldn't for many reasons. But this is the book that he needed, and so it's just funny that now it's the book that you needed. And I'm sure someone out there, if you haven't read it yet, this might be the book that you need just to kind of escape for a little bit and just have some fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Aaron, you had said earlier or talked earlier about how you are really into the science aspect of the books that you read.
Uh-huh.
What did you think of the science behind this entire Kaiju Earth? Like, did you like what they addressed?
There were some things like I appreciate them doing it. But again, like I said, I kind of wanted some kind of fast action pace through some certain things, and I was like, can we get back to the monsters? But I definitely appreciate them explaining how they're alive, how they grow their basically if and we're in spoiler sections. They're on parallel, not parallel, they're on I guess they were parallel Earths, weren't they? Um,
Alternate?
yeah, alternate Earths. So the way that they explained it, which I really liked, was we evolved and learned how to use science to create these nuclear reactors. They just biologically evolved to where their bodies and other creatures, they just make it. Like this what makes them, um, them. They kind of grow these things within them. So I like that. I like that explanation of that science. I also liked um, the weapons training sequence where why am I blanking on the character's name when they were telling Jamie like when you think of a weapon, this is what you normally think of, and showed a
Mm-hmm.
handgun or assault rifle.
Was it
That, and I'm like,
Sati?
yeah, you got to think different. Like you're this isn't
Yeah.
this isn't Kansas anymore. You got to think differently, and then show Jamie these different hey, the monsters will be attracted to these things, so maybe you shoot something there. You don't want to be eaten. So and I appreciated that because it made you think outside of the norm
Yeah.
because you're thinking hey, these are big monsters. These are a bunch of creatures that can eat me. Let me go grab a gun and take care of these things. And then you see the ramifications of that thought process too later on in the book when you have soldiers going up against those type of things and stuff. So I really appreciated that. But I think it just kind of my thirst for action, because I was like, this is what I wanted from it, was kind of overshadowing some of those. And I didn't, maybe I didn't appreciate it as much as I should have, but you know, that's a fault of my own, if anything. But I like the science that they put behind a lot of the things. So yeah, it was good.
I always appreciate that they attempt to address these things. Like
Yeah.
they don't have to have perfect answers for me, but I like the fact that it's like, yes, I know these are some things that you might have questions on. This is my way to explain it. Okay, let's just move on. And that's usually good enough for me, right? Like that happens so much in sci-fi in general, like especially Doctor Who. Like Doctor Who will
Yeah.
just throw some sciencey sounding words. It's like, okay, I'll accept
And
it.
you're like, sure,
Cool.
cool.
Sounds good to me. Let's move on.
I liked how so at first I did feel like it was a lot of exposition. It felt like there was a lot being thrown at me, but at the same time I realized what's happening is I'm going on this journey with Jamie and I'm learning the same things at the same time. So after a little bit, I just kind of like accepted it. And some things, yeah, we probably didn't really need to know, but it felt like it was just kind of building the world a little bit more, creating more understanding. I liked how a lot of the science reminded me of the different monster kind of movies or lore that he kind of like pulled from, which obviously connects into pop culture. So we see a lot of references to Godzilla, Jurassic Park, and Pacific Rim. Those are the top three that felt like a lot of details were kind of taken from those and kind of put together in this world. It was kind of like a homage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also the author's way of
To
letting you know that he's in on the joke, right? Like if you're
yeah.
going to do a book about kaiju, of course you're going to think about Godzilla or Pacific Rim. And the author's like, I'm right there with you. Like they're showing up to this brand new world, they're like, welcome to Jurassic Park. It's like, yeah, I get it. You're going to be thinking about this. I'm thinking about this too. We're all doing this together.
Yeah. Did you mind them tying it into the actual lore of Godzilla? Being like, where do you think they got their inspiration from? One of them crossed over,
I loved
the
it.
Japanese saw it, and boom, now you have Godzilla. Like,
Yeah, I really enjoy that. I wasn't
I'd
expecting
like
it.
tying it into real world things. Like, hey, this is why this happens. Like how they used to do in like the original Men in Black movie. They had explanations for like it's aliens. That's why this is this way type of situation.
Mm-hmm.
Godzilla is an actual kaiju that came from this side, this world. I can't remember. Do they have a name for the world?
I think they just called it Kaiju Earth.
Yeah, I don't remember any like title for it, but yeah, no, I thought it was I like that. I really like that tying it into real world, like an explanation for why this happened, in our world.
It's just another thing that grounds it when you tie it
Yes,
in.
it's called Kaiju Earth. That's what they call it,
Kaiju
Kaiju Earth.
Earth, okay.
Yeah. If this was DC, it'd be Earth, 54, but whatever.
Yeah, numerical. Yeah.
There were a lot of other pop culture references. I think one of the other one that was mostly referenced mainly because their names was that they named the two closest kaiju, Bella and Edward, and they got them to make babies.
Yeah.
I laughed so hard when I got to that part.
So
Yeah.
they didn't. I mean, that was kind of my another small gripe I had with it is I wanted to see more kaiju because I feel like we only got 3. We got Kevin in the beginning.
Yeah.
When they
And
first
then
got
there's
there.
the unnamed one.
an unnamed one, and then Bella and Edward, right?
That was it. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to. I like I said, I wanted to over the board with all that. Like, give me a kaiju war at the end or something too. Like, I need all the B movie coming out at the end. Like, that's what I need.
Yeah, I was with you. I wanted more. I wanted it to be more like Pacific Rim. Just
Yeah, yeah.
kaiju just battling it out and just
And I've only seen the second Pacific Rim. I've never
That's the
seen
bad one.
What?
I've never seen the
What?
first one.
Oh
Aaron!
man. Okay, we need to have a movie night. You gotta watch that.
Whoa.
I got into it late, of course, and it was on streaming, and I was like, I'll watch it. Why not? And I was like, this is pretty bad.
It's Aaron, you have to watch the first one. Only the first one.
I'm a John Boyega fan, so
Yeah,
I was
that's
like,
true,
well,
that's
he's
true.
in it. Let
I
me
mean, he
watch
was
it.
good, but the movie itself, it didn't
I
know
think
what
the
it was
second one
trying
has
to
its
do.
merits for being dumb.
And that's what I thought it was going
Yeah,
for.
it's like,
I
again,
thought,
just-
I thought it was
Yeah, you
going to
might
go
be
for
right.
like super campy.
No, but if you
Yeah.
want kaiju fights, you definitely watch the first one. The first
So
one's good.
here's the other thing when I was going into this book, because I'm not a kaiju movie fan.
Okay,
Like,
I was gonna
I don't-
ask you. Yeah.
I don't care for Godzilla. When Godzilla versus King Kong or King Kong versus God, I can't remember what it's called, but when that came out, and I have a friend Steven is big into those. He said him and his dad would watch like the old school ones, guy in a suit type of stuff. I never really got into this stuff
Yeah, me
because
either.
I felt like they start
Mhm.
moving towards like, what are the humans doing? I don't care about what the humans are doing. I want to see that fight for an hour and a half. Like, the humans are, I don't,
Yeah.
if I want to go see humans, I'll walk outside. Let me go
Yeah.
see the big lizard versus the big octopus or butterfly or whatever. Show me that. That's what I wanted to see. So I thought at least in this, and it's a preserve, right? You got to show me the different types. Like, I got to see 20 different type of kaijus at this preserve. It's a preservation. You're supposed to preserve these things. Like, let me see them all. Let me, show me them. But I was a little again disappointed to get 4. Like, that's it. That's all you guys have saved this whole time is 4 of them. Come on, maybe in the next book, maybe in the sequel, in Jamie's next tour.
Were there any other pop culture references that you guys liked? There's a
Trading
lot.
Places.
Huh?
Oh, trading.
The Trading Places one, the dollar bet.
That's
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
Mm.
Because that's that. And here's the thing about that: there's a movie, and I don't know if you guys have ever seen it. It's called Coming to America.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a Trading Places. There's 2 characters from Trading Places in that movie, and I, as a child, had never seen Trading Places. So when their cameo and their reference to Trading Places comes up in that movie, which is one of my favorite movies, Coming to America, I didn't get it for like 20 plus years. So I had no idea. And then I finally watched Trading Places and I was like, whoa, these are the same guys from one of my favorite movies. So then when I heard it in the book, I instantly, when he called it oh my gosh, now I'm blanking on that. It's a something bet, like because one of the characters is Mortimer and the
yeah.
other one is yeah, I can't remember. But when I
yeah, I
instantly
can't
knew what it
remember either.
was.
Was it a buck bet? Was that the term?
It was like a buck bet because it's just
Something
$1.
like that.
That's all they, that's all. And I was like, I know exactly where this is from. I got this, so I appreciated it. It ran deep with me on that one
No.
little, shot out.
I didn't realize that those cameo characters were in the movie until I watched. I think it's the Netflix documentary series, the movies that made us. And I think they did an episode on Coming to America, and they talk about the director wanting to get those 2 characters back into the movie and how the studio was against it or someone was against it. And then they were going to cast someone else for it. And then that didn't work. Things fell through. And so the director's like, hey, those 2 guys, they're available. I can call them up right now. And so that's how they got them into the movie.
Wow.
It's a connected universe. It's canon.
That
Training
was the
devices
first.
is coming to America.
Yeah, all you kids today with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. No, there was
Yeah.
the Eddie Murphy Cinematic Universe.
Yeah, Eddie Murphy Cinematic Universe. Yes.
Yeah. The only other two pop culture references that were in there that I didn't recognize them. I would never have known that these were references to anything else. But in the book, the characters call it out. Is they use the term deliberator, which apparently is from Snow Crash. Neil
They talk about
Stevenson.
Snow Crash a lot.
Yeah, and then later on in the book, they mentioned transdimensional portal, and one of the guys is like, "You took that from Doom." So again, just kind of being in on the joke is like, I'm gonna steal these references. You're gonna recognize them. This isn't me calling it out ahead of time. We're all having fun here. You'll confirm me later.
Yeah, I didn't know the Snow Crash one because I had no I have no idea what that was.
Yeah, I've never read Snow Crash, and I never played Doom, so I wouldn't have caught those.
I didn't even know Doom had a story. It just
I mean, I'm
shoots stuff.
assuming they're referencing the game and not the movie Doom.
Even the movie. Did the movie have a story? I thought it was just shooting stuff. Like Doom is a game about shooting stuff. Where is there a story? Why is there a story?
I wanted to point out, I don't know if anybody noticed this. I didn't notice until I was reading some reviews and questions on Goodreads. Jamie's gender is never specified.
True. So
Yeah.
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, that kind of blew my mind. I mean, I saw you put it in the notes, and I was like, wait, what? No, Jamie's male. And I realized, oh, no, it's because I listened to the audiobook. And so I was
Same.
projecting Will Wheaton's gender onto the character. And so I had to quickly try to go through. I was like, oh, I guess they aren't ever specified what gender they are.
I assumed male because male author, and then Will Wheaton
Yeah.
as narrator.
I assume male in every book I'm reading because I'm a male. That's kind of how. So I mean, and I've told other people that like when I read books or play video games or kind of consume any media, I kind of put myself in the driver's seat of the main character. So they sometimes get replaced with just an image of me there. So it's just like, and it could be conceited,
I mean,
it's a conceited way to look at things or something. But
I mean,
like,
that's the
if I'm
best
gonna
way to
immerse,
connect, right?
yeah, if I'm gonna immerse, then Aaron's going to immerse. So it's Aaron in the driver's seat of this thing, and I'm gonna go along with the ride. There's a rare occasion of books that I've read where that does not happen. The Harry Potter series is one. I don't know. I'm not a British kid, so I don't, so that's
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's an interesting fact there. Yeah, I never. So here's a thing that I noticed, and I think it's done well. Like the LGBTQ representation in the book, to
Mm-hmm.
me, was not noticed, right? So it was like, this is the world, right? We present it to you. It's nothing that,
Yep.
this is the characters, this stands out, nothing stands out. This is the world. And it flows very well. It reminded me of, have you guys played Borderlands 3?
Sure haven't.
Mm-mm.
Okay, so they have representation in there, and I was playing with a friend of mine, and when I said it at the end, I was like, "Oh, they show good representation. This should win the award at the Video Game Awards for like representation." And my friend was like, "What are you talking about? There was none in there." And I was like, "It was all over the place. That's how well integrated it was. That it was just a part of the world. You didn't even realize that it was."
Yep.
Like, because it's the world, right? So when I was going through this book, it was just, I never saw anything as, different. It was just a part of the world. So I like how that's like that's blended in. I never assumed anybody's, I guess, race as well. Like besides maybe three characters, I think that they described as well.
Yeah.
what was the pilot's name?
Oh,
Maybe
fudge.
some names, if anything, but that's about it. So I like when it blends well. Like I like a
Yeah.
blended picture, and
Yeah.
I feel like that's what it did. The book did do that well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The author used a lot of varied names to represent a lot of different cultures. Even if you didn't
Yeah.
always know what culture they came from, you can tell they weren't just like white culture. It was like, oh, this is definitely like Middle Eastern name, or I think the pilot was he the Canadian lieutenant, or am I
Yeah,
blanking?
you find out at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. When he got all the respect and all that
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, that was a.
Yeah, but I agree. I mean, it's great that that's just the world we live in. You don't need to call it out because the world we live in is very varied. So there's
Yeah.
no,
And that's
why
exactly what he was going for. There's an interview online where he is talking to somebody about it. They bring up there's no obvious gender for Jamie, and so they start talking about gender and representation. Scalzi does call out the fact that yes, Will Wheaton does narrate this book, so a lot of people assume that Jamie is male, but then he goes on to say that Will also narrated the Interdependency series, who has 2 female main characters. So he's read for females as well. So he says that people don't necessarily have to base their genders on who reads the audiobook. I guess I can't remember, maybe you guys remember, there is a trans character, at least one trans character in this book, and I cannot remember who it was. I just remember it was literally just like one line that kind of implied it, and then just we moved on. And it's driving me crazy.
Yeah. Was it
It's gonna bug
one of
me.
Jamie's roommates?
No.
It wasn't?
Jamie's roommates were 2 gay men, and then I think a woman that technically moved out. Like, we never actually met her.
Oh, that character just reminded me. The multiple
Oh,
instances. You found out?
I remember. Yeah, it was. I think it was one of the roommates, Laertes, because when the pandemic happened and Jamie lost their job, the roommates were talking about possibly also leaving, and they were going to move in with Laertes' family, and they were talking about how he comes from a very conservative background, and they still dead name him.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah,
So that's what it
Oh.
was. Laertes is trans because you're talking about how they still dead
Okay.
name him.
Okay. That's why I couldn't remember. It was so early in the book.
Yeah, it was early in the book. Yeah.
Sorry, Aaron, what were you saying?
no, I was
Something
gonna
about
say
a
that
movie?
that phantom roommate that they had reminded me when I worked at a job and worked with a woman that quit that I never worked with, and they were like, "She just quit." I was like, "Oh, okay. Who was that?" like, I don't know who that was.
Oh, I
So
didn't know I had a new
okay.
coworker.
Like, yeah, they were here for years. Not with me. Like, I don't know.
Anyways, we know for sure there is also there is a non-binary character, which I loved that it wasn't specified. I just realized when I was listening to the audiobook they were being referred to as they. So I was like, oh, I think that's probably a non-binary character. So I thought that was pretty cool. It's funny in this interview, I don't know who this is talking to him, but they said not everyone is cool with trans and or non-binary folks, and Scalzi says they wouldn't last long in the kaiju preservation then, nor would any other type of obvious bigot, as KPS is clearly a diverse international organization with no time for that sort of bullshit. It's my world. I get to write it the way I want.
Fuck yeah. Oh yeah.
I was like, yes! Thank you! So this is making me actually want to like look into some of his other books because from what I gather, he tries to have a really great representation in everything. Because at some point, I know in this interview too, he says like that is the world we live in. So write it the way that we live it.
There is one book by him that's been on my list even prior to this book being announced. It was called Red Shirts, which is very clearly based on Star Trek. So if anybody's a Star Trek fan, you know that anytime in the old show, the original series, any person that went with the main characters always had a red shirt and they would always be the ones to die. And so that's kind of became the joke. If you're a red shirt, you are cannon fodder. And so this book is basically about those type of characters. And so I put this on my TBR list, a few years ago, haven't gotten around to it. But after reading this book, I'm definitely going to go back and read that as soon as I can, and also check out some of his other stuff.
Yeah. I will say one thing that I was not too excited or happy about in this book was that it kind of felt like every character had the same voice and same humor and wit.
Okay.
Did you guys feel that?
I felt like 90% of them, yes.
Like it was like they all knew each other already.
Yeah, and it was very fast that they kind of grouped. And this is what I think this is what kind of docked points for me, because I was with the characters. No, I mean everybody definitely felt really jokey, except for the pilot. But I just couldn't get over the fact, or I couldn't get over the idea of these people would die. Like these monsters would just walk over through this base. They don't seem like they're taking anything that serious. Like the protocols don't seem like they're like, it seems like they're on cruise control, because when they got there, the person that was doing the orientation was drunk, right?
Yeah, I was
Like,
about to say. She was drunk and was like slurring.
Yeah, slurry, and I'm like, this is important stuff here. There are monsters out there. Give us a little bit of, get some decorum here. Like, what's going on? So that's why I kept putting it into this, like it's a B movie type of thing. So I shouldn't take it. And mind you, again, I'm just coming off of Sleep in a Sea of Stars, and they're definitely more serious about their protocols with different life forms and stuff like that. And I shouldn't judge one book towards another, but that's just the mindset that I was in at the time. Like I kind of jumped from one right into the other. But yeah, everybody seemed very campy and jokey, and it could have been, for me, it could have been Will Wheaton reading everybody, or
True.
or they were just written that way. But you know, when Jamie got over there, they caught on to jokes very fast with the, what was the reference that they kept making over and over again? There was one reference that they kept making over, but everybody caught on to it real fast, and I was like, everybody's watched the same movies, like like we've all seen these, okay. And then Jamie seemed out of place to me, because everybody else seemed to be like have some type of science background. And during their final like mission, I'll say, I kind of felt like the room would be like, well, Jamie, why are you here? Like, we know how to do the science stuff. We know what we're supposed to do. You've been lifting things this whole time. Why are you here right now?
You know, the feel that I got from Jamie's job is a PA on a film set.
Okay.
Jamie is just doing whatever he's told to do. Oh, see, there I go. I think right? Male. What was that?
But they went to Jamie at the end and was like, we're kind of asking, do you want to come with us to go basically save the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why? Why are we getting Jamie out of everybody on the base that, you know,
That's already got experience.
has got
I
experience
think
with these things.
I think Jamie had proven themselves at that point. They already faced the kaiju. They shot the cancer into the mouth.
Oh,
They
that's
are already a
true.
hero. So at that
That
point now, it's like, all right, we know you know what the fuck you're doing. So you want to come with us?
that could be the reason. That could be a reason, but I'm more of the like, you did it once. We're about to go to something super serious. This could destroy our world, like this could mess up a bunch of stuff on our world. And then you got a psycho that's about to try to grow these things, or grow these power plants on our side of the in our world. And this cannot happen. This is a very serious situation. Let's take the loader. That's what I felt like it happened. Let's
You
take
know,
the loader.
what I was thinking was maybe we don't have a good idea of how large of a team they have or how
Uh-huh.
large their base is. Like, we don't know how many people are actually working there, what all the jobs are. So, like, if you're on a small team, everybody wears multiple hats. So that's kind of what I took from it, is he doesn't have a science degree, so he does everything else. And if he's trained to be on land, on the ground, and he's trained with these weapons, then they're gonna use him wherever they need him to go. That doesn't have to do with science.
I I would accept that as well if they didn't come to him as kind of a friend. That's where I looked at it. They came to Jamie as a friend.
They wanted him to
Like,
go because they wanted them to
we
go
want
because
you
they
in
are
on this.
friends. Okay.
We want you in on this because we know we know you'll come with us because this is a hero moment, and the higher ups or whatever, the higher brass wouldn't want us doing this. We gotta sneak, so we're coming to you. But I don't know, I just couldn't get over the fact of like, what the hell is Jamie there for? Like,
Well, they even say that in some of the meetings, like, I don't know why I'm here.
and
I'm here because I brought the food.
yeah, I mean, yeah, right. Like, Jamie was a PA, and okay, hey, I was waiting for Jamie to become the weapons specialist. Honestly, like, maybe do not a montage, but like a month or so time skip where it's like Jamie's got this down because Jamie's been giving these tours to the billionaires for a few months now or whatever, or maybe a few tours. Like, Jamie's gone back and forth, so Jamie's got it down. Like, weapon specialist, getaway specialist, and then we do the big conflict at the end. Maybe after 2 tours. But this is, you know, fresh from the other world. I've got into one combat scenario. I got my what is it? I want to say the order. What is it? The hollow title when they induct them into the groups after something crazy has happened to them.
Oh.
Yeah, the orders.
Yeah, the orders. Yeah, like, this is, I got here on Monday. This is happening on Friday, and we're in this. So I'm like, somebody. I feel like there should have been more deaths. Somebody should have gotten,
I mean, there were
somebody would have gotten.
deaths.
No, there were no. I'm talking about from the
Oh, from their
the
own team.
KPS side. Like, there was the
Well,
group
yeah,
that went out there from the first.
copper helicopter 1.
Yeah, Helicopter One's group, but I'm talking about from mistakes, not from an outside source doing
Oh.
various things. I feel like the days from last accident should be 0 on the side of the wall there. That's what I feel like.
Okay.
Well, harsh criticism.
It's very, but I mean, I feel like, and that to me would have added to the campiness as well. It's like, oh, well, it reminds me when I worked at Lowe's and I had to do training about the equipment, the power equipment. It's very dangerous. And during the training, they said, falling off equipment was the second most cause of fatal accidents at this job. So I was like, okay. And I went and asked my boss right after, because they didn't tell me during the training. They said falling off was second most. What's the first most? And she looked me right in my eyes. She said, I don't know, rhinos. And I was like, what? Like, so that means you don't know. So the number one cause of death around here, we don't know. Would you? Okay. All right. This is cool. So now I don't even know what to look out for. Cool. That's the vibe I got from Drunk Orientation Day. That in this book. That's the vibe I got. And I was like, all right, we're gonna die here, guys. Like there's giant monsters. We almost got killed getting here. Somebody's gonna, oops, I left the barrier down last night and now the mosquitoes are killing us. Like, oh no. I had that feeling the whole story. Once they got to the kaiju, world.
All right. Well, Aaron has no faith in these characters whatsoever.
I don't remember how we got on that subject.
I don't know either. I don't know.
We should probably wrap it up soon, but I have a question for you guys. I felt like the description of what the kaiju look like wasn't very descriptive, and I could not picture what I was supposed to be looking at.
I'm kind of with you on
know?
that too.
Because we're thinking Pacific Rim,
Pokemon
Godzilla, but the way that Scalzi describes them is different from that. Like, they don't have eyeballs. It's a glowing thing under their skin. And, like, there's never a description of what the parasites look like. They just say that there's parasites wriggling off. And I was like, what am I picturing? Like, am I picturing giant worms? Am I picturing bugs? Like, I don't know what this is that's happening.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to my I wish there were more kaiju in the book, because they kind of didn't give you a descriptive picture of. I guess my guess, and it's a long shot, was the author was like, you've seen Godzilla, right? Think something like those without eyes. And you know what crabs are? Well, they're giant crabs in this. There's tree crabs. Or you know what a parasite is? Think of that. That's kind of how it was given. So I would replace things like Kevin was a giant Pokemon. Whatever a dinosaur Pokemon to me was, that's what Kevin was whenever I was, going through that moment. And until they spoke about the eyes with Bella, it was just another like dinosaur. Like, I don't have a vast library of different type of kaiju in my head. So it was very generic, when it came to those sections. For me.
Jason, what did you think?
My takeaway was there was an element of not being able to describe what it looked like. They're like, for human understanding, things didn't quite make sense because they mentioned something about a thing that wasn't quite a tentacle. And so it was like, well, so then what is it? And it's like, well, fuck, I don't know. It kind of looks like a tentacle, but not really. So instead of bogging down the book, it was like, well, it's kind of a tentacle, but it also has these characteristics, blah, 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 blah. Like, I felt like the author was like, it doesn't really matter. Like, what it looks like isn't the important thing, which for me, as the type of reader that I am, I honestly really appreciate, because there are some authors that take chapters describing the way the waves crash on a fucking beach, right? And I do not care about that shit at all. I do not need to know about every blade of grass, every little thing of dust on a countertop, whatever. That's great for some people who read that and they love it and they can really visualize a space. That's not me. I'm more of like, what's going on? There's a kaiju. Cool. What's happening? It's chasing us. All right, I'm in. Let's go. I will fill in what the kaiju looks like, either with a Pokemon or a Godzilla or something I've seen, or just an amorphous blob of this is a kaiju, insert graphics later kind of thing, like.
That's kind of
So
what I was
didn't.
doing in my head.
Yeah, and I do that all the time with characters. Like, I could not tell you what a single character in this book really looked like, because I don't care what they look like. It's this is the role they fill. There's the pilot, there's a weapons trainer, there's the sassy person, there's the chemist, there's the hero, blah blah blah. Let's move on. So for me, the lack of descriptions didn't really make a big impact, and I think also some of that is my history with reading some Lovecraftian stuff, where the way to
Yeah.
describe Lovecraftian things is also kind of like, shit, how do we describe this? This is from another world, literally from another world. Your human mind can't really comprehend it.
That makes sense.
Or it was just lazy writing. I don't know. One of the two.
Well,
It could go either way.
There's a lot of times that they were described as like a mountain in the distance.
Mm-hmm.
And then, there was that reference of a tentacle, but not a tentacle. And it was just kind of like all over the place. So I ended up just thinking it was like just some kind of giant blob thing.
Yeah.
With no eyes that maybe has legs and maybe also has tentacles.
Yeah. And they made a
And
point
is
to describe
laying
them as
eggs.
like an ecosystem. It's not an animal. It's like an ecosystem. Because there was a point where I think they said, like it sprouted wings. And that was surprising. Like it didn't have wings. It just all of a sudden now had wings.
Yeah, where'd the wings come from?
So I think there was a little bit of like, it's just this giant kind of organism.
Just morphs to what it needs.
It's a little bit of morphing thing going on. Like it has a tentacle sometimes. It has wings sometimes.
All right, you made me not like that even more, though. You made me not like that even more.
Great.
Because now you've turned my giant Charizard type of thing into a Ditto, is what you basically did.
That's exactly what I was thinking when I said it. It's a Ditto.
So I'm like, now it's just, all right, it's a blob.
So picture Godzilla with the Ditto eyes and just the real thing.
Exactly,
smile.
yeah. So like now that's what I'm thinking. Rampaging.
Oh man, I gotta Photoshop that now.
Wow.
That's gonna be our episode image.
A Ditto Godzilla. Fantastic.
Oh my god. Okay. Is there anything else you guys wanted to talk about?
The last thing I kind of want to say was it's in the author note at the end, which I think really summed up the book for me. And I think it's really important for other people sometimes. So the author says that the Kaiju Preservation Society is not, and I say this with absolutely no slight intended, a brooding symphony of a novel. It is a pop song. It's meant to be light and catchy, with 3 minutes of hooks and choruses for you to sing along with. And then when you're done and you go on with your day, hopefully with a smile on your face. And I thought that was really well said, of like, not every book needs to be War and Peace. Right? Not every book needs to be really deep with meaning. Some books exist just to be fun to read and to remind you that books can be fun and a nice escape from the world. And this is what it was for me. This is why I loved it so much. And yeah.
Yep.
That's all I got to say about that.
All right. So on Goodreads, it has a rating of 4.09 out of over 20,500 ratings.
20,000, geesh.
Dang.
Which is a lot because it just came out this year.
A few months ago, yeah. Holy moly.
Aaron, we do a different rating system on our show now. Would you say this book was shit, or is it the shit?
You give me two choices?
That's it.
Wow.
No more of this. I'm giving it 2.87. stars.
I mean, sometimes books
It's a
need to
pass
get
or a fail.
2.87s.
Pass or fail.
Pass
Shit
or
the shit.
fail. So okay, all right. Before
For you.
okay, for me, but hey, you have, to the millions of people that listen to this podcast. If I say something, or you say something, or Jason
Sure.
says something, it's a stamp of approval. It's like, I need to read this because they said it's the shit, right?
Mm-hmm. Fair enough.
That's what
Well,
I'm taking away from
if
this.
they
Okay.
agree with you or me
No,
or Jason.
don't backtrack on this, Laura. We're gonna go. We're gonna say this is the.
I'm with
This
you.
is the.
That's kind of
I
where
don't.
It's
I
either
don't know what
shit or
that.
the shit.
I don't know what that guy is that has all the buttons that tells people to buy stocks or whatever. But that's what I feel like this moment is for.
Bye.
Yeah, this is read. So I'm going to say. This book is shit. Hear me out, though.
Okay.
Hear me out. Because, like I said in the beginning, I like B movies. And the majority of people that I know hate them and can't stand them. But I enjoyed the ride that these that some people can't separate, The Godfather from, Octoshark versus Giant Python. I think they're one and the same. I think they're both, they have their appeal to them, right? So
Mhm.
that's why I'm saying it's shit, but in a good way.
So you're saying it's a turd, but it's a nicely polished turd.
It's high
But
fibrous.
did you
That means it's good
like
for
the
you.
book?
Huh?
Did you like the book?
Oh well, see, I like the book. I can say I like the book. See, that's what I'm saying. Your rating is. I need a little.
Let the man answer how he wants to answer. It says
That's fine.
shit or the shit. He's saying it's shit. The book shit. All right, fair enough.
All right.
If you want to
can
know
enjoy
more
something
about
so
my
shit.
definition of shit, you can follow my shit blog. That I'll start to, to explain more. Just about that one rating.
Okay.
Nothing else on that whole blog. Just about that one rating.
Laura, what about you? Is it shit or the shit?
I would say the shit. It was a lot of fun. It was definitely written as more of like an escape type book, as we've mentioned, and that is exactly what I needed, and I think it's perfect for anybody else who wants something that's a light, quick, fun read.
Great.
You?
I would also say is the shit, or if you will, a lovely platter of poop fruit. That is very delicious.
There you go.
Yeah, it was a shit. I think it was a shit. This is exactly the kind of sci-fi I love, which I honestly didn't anticipate, not having read this author before. I didn't realize it was going to be so pop culture-y and kind of funny and lighthearted. So it was great. I enjoyed it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, before we take off, what is the shit we're reading next? What's next on your TBR?
Oh, I don't know, actually.
Great question.
I thought I don't really have anything. I'm back in the beginning, like I got coins to spend on Audible and have not.
You just
I
kind
keep
of sit
forgetting
there and
that
look.
they're just charging me to hoard
Same.
coins like I'm
Same.
Smaug or something like that. So
Yeah.
I got nothing right now.
That's why I've been jumping on some audiobooks, is because I have a lot of credits that I haven't used. And if I don't use them, they just expire. So then that's wasted money.
Yes,
Okay.
it is.
Yep.
Well, I'm going to probably read Godslayers by Zoe Hannah Makuta next. It's the second book in the Gearbreakers series.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Excited for it.
keep making my way through some Doctor Who stuff. There is 2020, 2021. There was this giant kind of media project from Doctor Who called Time Lord Victorious. They released a couple of novels, some comic books, some audio dramas, some like interactive games. There's an escape room, and it's all part of this overarching
Whoa.
storyline. So I've been making my way through the stuff that I am able to consume. And so there's a couple of novels in that I'm going to read next. But right after that, which I'm more excited about, is I'm going to be rereading some, not all, 'cause there's a lot, of the Goosebumps books to get ready
Ooh.
for Halloween, because this year is the, I believe, 30th anniversary of Goosebumps.
Good Lord.
Nice.
And I loved those books as a kid, so I figured let's revisit some of them. So
30 years.
Aaron? Still nothing next?
Probably
No.
pick up more of the comic book. The What's Killing Them Children.
Something is
That's-
killing the children.
Yeah, Something's Killing the Children. Oh, and you know what I'm actually going to do, because I heard some sad news. I'm going to go reread Paper Girls. If you haven't read that one, I do recommend reading Paper Girls.
Mhm.
It is a great
yes, it
comic
is.
book, and they canceled
Yes.
this TV series.
They canceled the
Ah,
TV series.
I just
Yeah.
started it yesterday.
Sorry. Sorry.
No, honestly, I feel like Amazon did a horrible job advertising that. Like they did no advertisement for it. Like everything
Yes.
you see is fucking Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, or whatever, but no love for Paper Girls.
You're 1,000% right, because I spoke to Emma about this a year ago, because we were like, I read the comic, I love the comic. I'm like, oh, they're doing a show. We got to do something about this. You've never read it, you don't know what it is. We're gonna talk. And when it came out, I was a week late on knowing that it came out. I was like, this was released?
Yeah,
Like, where was a commercial, a fly over ad
Yeah.
or something?
there is
Like, I
I
got
never saw any
nothing.
ads for it.
that's
Nothing.
so disappointing.
They failed when it came to advertising this. But whenever I opened up my Amazon app on my phone just to buy something, it's automatically Rings of Power in my face before I even get to shopping anything. So I was like, they knew where they wanted to put their money
Oh yeah,
when it came to things.
I feel
so
like they didn't
It
need
wasn't
to put
Paper
money
Girls.
in that though. They already knew people were
Yeah,
gonna
like
watch
it's gonna
it.
sell. Yeah, they're gonna gravitate towards that. But like, if you're listening out there, read the comic book. It's fantastic. It actually like literally became one of my like top 5 comic books.
it's very
So
good.
good.
It's a good comic book. I really enjoyed
And
it.
watch the show too. Watch the show. Give them some love.
Still watch it.
Yeah, maybe they'll get picked up
Maybe.
by
Maybe you'll
Netflix
get
or
a-
something. I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe
Yeah.
somebody will save it.
Yeah.
The sad thing is that like the Rings of Power is Amazon's attempt to do like a Game of Thrones, right? Like that's what
For
they
sure.
wanted to like position it as, but they didn't have the foresight to position Paper Girls as their version of Stranger Things.
You know why? Do you know why though? This is because I was talking about this with friends when I heard the news that it got canceled today. So I'm gonna read you the small excerpt from a article that I saw. It says Paper Girls comes from Amazon Studios and Legendary Television, an associate with Plan B. According to sources, Legendary TV will be shopping the series, looking to tap into the popularity of series like Euphoria.
What?
It's not Euphoria. That's what I don't understand.
What?
I'm like, these are two. It's Euphoria and some show called Sex Lives of College Girls. But I'm like,
Paper Girls is about like
That doesn't make
12-year-olds.
it makes
they're
no
12.
sense to me whatsoever why they decided to do that. But I was like, that's why I didn't say it was being shopped around earlier. I was like, it's just canceled. So I'm like, there's 2 different audiences. You're not
my
even
God.
trying to go for the right audience. I'm like, Paper Girls could have been your Stranger Things. Stranger Things is wrapping up, so their time to shine is pretty much over. There's no plans that I know of, I guess, to do anything. Paper Girls is an amazing story that you can show with amazing characters,
Yep.
and you drop the ball because you want to be Euphoria. Like, where did that come from?
Doesn't make any sense. Wow.
But that was from
That's disappointing.
Yeah, that was very disappointing. So sorry to end it on a. So you can cut all that. You can cut all
Oh
that. That's fine.
man, yeah.
All right. Well, we're gonna wrap things up then here. If any of our listeners have read the Kaiju Preservation Society, we would love to know your thoughts on it on social media. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Shit We've Read. Aaron, do you have any socials or like plugs that you would like to mention?
Everything before you log off. And then our YouTube channel is BYLO Network. Yeah. But everything else, one giant smashed up word before you log off. That's us.
Okay, so next month, Shit We Read will be back with a discussion on the book In Every Generation by Kendara Blake. We're gonna have returning guest host Z LaFrance and new guest host Megan Wilson. Very excited for this.
Yep, it's a Buffyverse novel. And so I figured it's Halloween. We're gonna talk about some vampires, and in order to talk about it, we're recruiting our own group of Scoobies. They're both big fans of the show, so I'm sure they'll have opinions.
All right. Well, Aaron, thank you again for being on the show with us.
Thank you for having me.
Fun.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming on.
Jason, also thank you for doing this episode with me again.
You're very welcome, Laura. Yeah, no problem.
All right. Oh, and also Bella will be back next episode as well. So
you guys are getting a kaiju on the show next time?
Yep.
The production quality has gone up immensely since the last time.
Right from the kaiju mouth.
Wow.
Bella's side of the story.
Well, you guys had special guests from the book join in. Wow.
Bella from the book Kaiju. All right. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye. Shit We've Read is hosted by Laura Benson, Jason Rico, and Bella Romero, with music by Joshua Chilton and editing by Jason Rico.
To join the discussion on this and all other books we've read, find us at Shit We've Read on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok.
For more information about us or to request transcripts, please visit shitwe'veread.com.
This podcast is part of the Bilo Network. Visit bilonetwork.com for more great geeky podcasts.
Thanks so much for listening.